Hey, I'm Macy.
And I'm Maggie, and this is Extraordinary with Mason Max.
Just two besties anchored in Jesus.
Chatting about faith, life, motherhood, marriage, plants, recipes, really whatever's on our hearts.
Where Jesus brings the extra to the ordinary.
We're so glad you're here. Hey, welcome back to episode 2 of Extraordinary with Mason Max. We're so glad you decided to join us for another episode.
We also want to say thank you to everyone who has listened to the first episode. Y'all are so appreciated. We have gotten feedback from lots of friends and family and even a few strangers. So we are just really glad that you are here, and we are glad that you came back for number 2.
We'll just jump right into it. We have a pretty good topic to discuss today, something very prominent in today's day and age, especially with social media. We are going to be touching on all the things confidence.
And this is something, it's kind of near and dear to my heart, but I just love encouraging people to be their best selves. And I mean, not even your best self, just you, because sometimes your best means that you fall out of a golf cart in front of others. Other times you just stumble over your words, and being confident is starting a podcast with your best friend.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too, there's so many pieces and parts to the puzzle of what confidence is as a whole. And I'm just excited to dive into each and every one of those with you all.
Yes. So Maggie and I, before we jumped on and hit record, we were discussing Maggie's life as a mom, and currently she's not having much confidence in her son's sleep because she's been on the struggle train.
Yes. The terrible twos are exactly that. It's been a rude awakening. My son literally turned 2 last week, and the second he turned 2, it was like a light switch went off, and he's a completely different person around bedtime.
I feel that though, but for me, it's getting out of bed. It's the getting out of bed that I don't want to do. I just like to stay snug. That is my favorite spot in my whole house. It's probably my bed. So Maggie just celebrated. She spent her weekend hosting a birthday party for Asa. It was the cutest thing. And once again, downside to living in Texas when Maggie lives in Virginia. But
Yeah.
it was the cutest party. How many people did you have at your house though? How many people did you have to host?
Yeah, it was a really good time. We decided this year, because he was turning 2, just to have a party with family. Jacob and I both come from very large families, so we ended up still having around 40 people, which is a bit of a challenge. My house is the perfect size for our family, but it's not extravagant or super large. And so it got a little stuffy, got warm. People were kind of all over each other, but hey, it made good memories and for a good time. So we were very glad to have the party here. It also stretched me. I enjoy hosting, but I've never hosted that amount of people on my own. And so that was a challenge, but it was very fulfilling to have that many people in our home.
Oh, that is love, though. To have all of your family in one place, I will say, Cody and I live in a tiny house. I touched on that before. Our house is just under 400 square feet. It is enough room for me and Cody and our dogs, but we don't host. We have a lot of outdoor living space. We have a large patio, a large porch, big shop, all the things outside, but we don't host large groups of people for that reason. And I mean, maybe that's why I built a tiny house, is to not have people come over. But I mean, it is what it is. So Maggie, after this weekend, what's your number one hosting tip that you learned?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I would say just embrace the chaos and not have a specific, definitive plan in your head, because things are going to go wonky, not as planned, and you just need to embrace it when it happens instead of trying to stress yourself out about the thing that went wrong.
Oh, love that. That is good. I try to live my life like that. And honestly, that is the perfect segue into confidence because, Maggie, you weren't scared of what was going to happen. You were just going with the flow. And
Yeah,
so
roll with the
that
punches.
that I think is one of the most important things when you're thinking about confidence, courageousness, and just living boldly is to not be afraid of what is going to happen.
Yes, I would 100% agree with that. And I think so often, especially when we're talking about confidence and not being afraid of what's going to happen in culture, we're so afraid of what other people think. And so I think if you can almost rewire your brain to not care about what other people think about you, because newsflash, everybody has an opinion, whether you like it or not. And so I think if you can just rewire your brain to not worry about what someone else is thinking of you, there's so much freedom in that. Now, with that being said, there does come a time where you should care what people think with a certain regard. I'm talking about like obsessing over or holding yourself back from making a decision out of fear of what people will think.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I also think with that, there is the other side of it that a lot of times nobody cares.
Yes,
That is something like so big. Like anymore, I have my own style. I like to think that I dress really cute, but some
she
people don't
does.
like
I
it.
can attest.
Some people love it. Um, as I'm sitting here in my camo t-shirt covered in paint, um, but I don't care, and I know a lot of times like other people don't care, that nobody is really thinking that hard into what you have on, what your hair looks like. With I will say on caring what people think though, please don't be smelly. That's the that's the ticket. Like don't. I think that is when you should care, is if your hygiene is poor, you should care. But that's a whole different conversation. That is something not really in confidence. Um, that is just you should work on that. Uh, Truly, that is like I keep seeing the post on Facebook, and it's like, please wear the deodorant with chemicals in it. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole today, but truly, summer in Texas, it is so hot. I don't want to smell you. That is just my one thing, is I don't
Mm,
want to smell you. But I think that a lot of confidence comes from taking care of yourself and loving yourself.
hmm.
I think there is the line of cocky and confidence.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's a balance between being overly confident and like just a total jerk, or just being confident in your true, authentic, transparent self, which is what me and Macy both strive to do. With that, of course, comes with, for instance, this podcast. It's almost radical to some people because it seems we're so confident because we're allowing ourselves to be subjected to other people's opinions and we're being vulnerable and transparent. But I think in a culture where, once again, social media warps like beauty and trends and what you should look like to be confident, the best thing that we could give anybody is a true, authentic, transparent self. And so we're hoping that through this podcast, of course, you grow further into a relationship with Jesus, or you come to know him if you don't already, but also in that you see that we're just transparent and authentic. That's kind of just another part of what our goal is for this podcast as a whole.
Yes, I agree. And I think with that, ultimately, the only opinion that matters at the end of the day is God's.
Hmm.
No matter what you're doing in your life, really the only person's opinion, I mean, I say person, but God's opinion is what counts. So
Yeah.
I think that if we are striving to be our best selves and like put ourselves out there, then at the end of the day, that is where everything kind of comes full circle with that. Like Maggie said, that we are just really like, we want to share the word, we want to help people. And I think that by us being confident and we are a little out there, that hopefully we can just inspire somebody else to step out of your comfort zone, do something that someone will respond with, oh my gosh, I could never.
Hmm. Well, and I'm so glad you brought that up because, for instance, something that our pastors say often at my church, and that I actually have written down. So, as you guys heard in the first episode, I am a worship leader at our church. And I literally wrote on my music binder, audience of one. And that is something that I take to heart with leading worship. Obviously, like I'm not performing, I'm helping people get into a deeper place of worship. So, in all reality, I'm singing for an audience of one. But I think in every area of our life, we should be living for an audience of one. So at the end of the day, the only opinion or perception that matters about us is the Lord's. And so I think when you're in close fellowship with God and you're truly walking with Him, you can test the things in your life against what His Word says to know how to please Him and to know how to please that audience of one person as opposed to the world. Because often, especially in today's day, what the world is going to tell you you should do or you should look like or standards and all the things are so far from the biblical truth that has already been laid out for us.
Oh, yes. That is so good. I love that. And I'm not going to say that I forgot, but I semi forgot that Maggie does get in front of her church and sings on Sundays. She puts herself out there. And I could never, nobody would ever want me to sing in front of them. Nobody would want me to sing into a microphone.
Well, get more in depth with how that all came to be because if you would have told me 5 years ago, I would be singing in front of 500 people on every Sunday. And
500?
yes,
Oh my gosh.
if you would have told me that I would be doing, I would have laughed in your face. Seriously. Um, I'll get into all the details of how that came to be and how I've gained confidence through that. Let's just say the Lord has a very funny sense of humor.
Oh my gosh, Confident Queen. I did not know that there was, that was in front of 500 people. My
We
face.
have a very large troop, a very large church.
If you can see my face, I'm in disbelief. But I love that. And that truly is a testament to Maggie's confidence and where that comes from. And so for me, that I'm honestly just mind blown right now. And Maggie will send me videos of their like practice and of their service and stuff. And Maggie truly is so good. Maybe one day you can write a jingle for our podcast.
Oh, now that would take some confidence I don't yet have.
We will find it. But I think that that is just one of those things that, for me, like, honestly, I bet the first time you planned to get on stage, like, you're probably scared. Like, you were probably so nervous to get out there.
To say the least. And if I can be completely transparent, which I will be because that's the purpose of this, I still get nervous every single service. So I sing on Sundays and I sing on Wednesdays. Wednesdays is a much smaller, laid back service, but Sundays is like full fledged 400 to 500 people. And I like shake in my seat before I get up there. But the second I get up there and the song starts and I'm like in a place of worship, I have a peace about it. And once again, it comes from knowing my purpose is singing for an audience of one. Like, I'm not up there to glorify myself. I'm not up there to just sound good. Like, of course, that helps when you're trying to lead people into worship. Like, I don't want to sound awful. But at the end of the day, like, if I mess up, it doesn't matter because it's not even about me. And so I think just reminding myself of those truths has, like, helped me gain confidence in being on stage in front of such a large amount of people.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's what I think too, that whenever you are nervous about something, that means you care.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will just take an outfit, for example. If you are nervous to wear something out in public because you're like, oh my gosh, does this look good? Is this color too bright? Is this too loud for me? I think that means you care about your appearance. That is all, like, that is what that is. And if you think about it from that aspect and not necessarily thinking about what other people think, that kind of changes your perspective too, that it's something that you care about. And that's, for me, looking at like a clothes aspect, is I wear a lot of bright colors. Some of my very favorite outfit, there's two of them, is I have a bright pink jumpsuit, and then I have a pair of leopard overalls, and those two are my favorite outfits. If I am feeling down about myself, I can get one of those things, put them on, and it immediately makes me feel better. And
Mm-hmm.
I will say the first two times I wore those, I was so nervous to wear those in public because I was like, do I look like a pink gumbo or a leopard gumbo? Like isn't that what the little cartoon guy, isn't that what he's named? There's a little green guy. I don't know what his name is. I think it's Gumbo. Gumby, something like that. Maybe it's not Gumbo. But I didn't want to look like a pink Ghostbuster. I did not want to look like that in this pink jumpsuit. But it was, I cared more about how it looked on me and that kind of thing. And so, but the more I've worn those and stepped out of my comfort zone, it has just, every time I wear them, I get compliments from strangers on how cute it looks. And I just feel good in that. And so I think, though, like being nervous beforehand is really just because I cared. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think for you, like in your worship, that is something like you care so much about it. Like it makes sense to be nervous.
Mm-hmm. I actually pray that I don't ever lose that nervousness because then I would be in a place of being too comfortable. Um, but with all of this to say about confidence, I do think we need to touch on kind of the controversy of society today pushing that you need to be almost too confident. Tying back into the last episode where we talked about that first Peter verse, like women were still called to be quiet and gentle spirits. So like I think there's a good balance between that and being confident, but not being too confident.
I understand what you're saying. Um, because I agree. I think that there's a fine line. Yes, like you said, Maggie, I think what you're putting out there is that there is a line, and being confident in ourselves, that doesn't mean that you have to put yourself out there with a lack of clothes and dignity.
Yes.
Especially in today's world, with social media, I think that often you see the influencers, the Instagram models, those kinds of things, they're putting themselves out there with their bodies, but you don't see, like, that is not their heart, their soul being
Mm-hmm.
laid out. That is just their body, and that is what's on the outside. And so it's sometimes easier to have confidence in that, but they're truly insecure on the inside. And so I just think that that is kind of a line to walk as a woman in today's world, is being vulnerable with your thoughts, your feelings, emotions, those type of things, not with what you look like.
Mm-hmm. And this is a good segue into social media and kind of where I gained confidence. So I was on social media obviously throughout high school, all the things. 5 years ago, I got to the lowest place, and I hadn't truly surrendered to the Lord at this point. I told you guys on the last podcast that happened when I was 21, but I was playing the comparison game all the time. And comparison is the thief of joy. And so I would mindlessly scroll, compare what I looked like to other women, compared what I had to what other people had, compared what my relationship looked like with what these people are putting out on social media. And it was just like the lowest of lows for me, self confidence wise. And it just got to a place where I decided to get off of social media for the sake of my sanity. Like I had zero self confidence. And I think understanding that with social media, we need to have this lens on that, like, people only put their best selves out there. They're not showing you the ins and outs of reality of what their bad days look like, Like, oh no, me and my husband just got into an argument. Oh no, my toddler threw up all over the floor. Oh no, this happened to me at the store today. Like, they're not showing you the ugly, they're only showing you the best self. And so that creates a place of false reality and false standards and things that are often not attainable. And so I think if we're going to be a society where we're on social media, we need to have that lens on, but also how refreshing would it be if people truly put out all of themselves, not just the good? I think it would make social media less of an issue. Um, but so I got off social media, have been off of it since, and in 2021, when I truly surrendered to the Lord, confidence came in a completely different way because A, I knew my worth in my role as a woman that comes from the Lord. And two, I knew that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, like Psalm 139 tells us, but in God's image. And so, after I truly understood that and took that literally to heart, like, no, we were created in God's own image. Like, who am I to critique every little thing about myself? Like, that's almost a slap in God's face. Now, easier said than done. I still have bad days. I still have things I don't love about myself. But I think when you genuinely know you're fearfully and wonderfully made, perfectly made in God's sight, that is where true confidence comes from. And you can help fight the lies of the world and the lies of social media with those truths.
Yes. Honestly, so good. And side note, Maggie does post on our Instagram. She's on Instagram for podcast purposes. Um, but sometimes the voice on Instagram is me. It is
Mm-hmm.
me, Macy. So don't think that if it always it is comes from the both of us, but it is normally me doing the things, and I send them to Maggie, and I'm like, hey, look at this. What do you think about this? Is normally how we go about that.
Say, while I'm saying these things about social media, I'm not this radical, social media sucks, we should all get rid of it. Like, that's not my view at all. I think social media can be a great tool. As you guys can see, like, we're using it for this podcast, and I think it's great in its own regard. But I do think there are a lot of downfalls of it that have contributed to larger issues in society. Self
Yes,
confidence being one of them.
yes, I agree. I think that and kind of as you went from there, I think that social media and also it's not used as a tool in so many ways. Like you said, we see a highlight reel. We don't see the
Mhm.
real. We just see
Mhm.
the highlights. And so I think that today we have so many young women that are comparing themselves to people on social media, and they're like, oh, well, my picture didn't get this many likes. It didn't get this or this or this, or my TikTok was only viewed this many times. And so that kind of creates a false narrative
Mhm.
to where our worth truly comes from. And like you touched on, your confidence truly soared whenever you realize that your worth comes from God. It does
Mhm.
not come from the ways of the world. It does not come from people here. It comes from a deeper place than that. Like, you were made in your mother's womb, and like God knew you before you were ever here. So
Yeah.
I think for me too, that is something that I kind of go back to. And we talked about this in the first episode, and I am the only girl. I'm a middle child, and growing up, I had my cousins on my dad's side. They were boys, both my brothers, and then there was me. So I grew up surrounded by boys, and I've been a tomboy my whole life. As I say that, my favorite color is pink, and my office is painted pink. But growing up, I was the only girl in a group of boys. So I had a lot of times that my confidence as a little girl came from, well, if the boys can do it, I can do it too. So I kind of went back and forth of my worth had to come from like how much I could accomplish compared to my brother, my cousins, and their friends. And so I had a little bit skewed idea of what confidence as a woman looked like until middle school, high school, and really probably high school and college more so than middle school. Um, but that was just something like as a girl growing up, I was always comparing myself to what I could accomplish compared to like what the guys could accomplish. And so, and we will touch on this later, have some issues with my dad, and that plays into a lot of things. Is like I thought like love and was measured by like what I could do and what I could get done. And so I think that that was one of those things that for me, confidence, I always found it in what I was doing, not as much what I looked like until high school and college.
Yeah, and I think when we're in those growing years of puberty and you're in high school and middle school and all the girl drama and your looks are changing and your appearance is changing, confidence truly is only found in the things that we can see. So the way we look and, oh, I can wear this makeup today, or my friend has that shirt, so I'm going to go buy it too. Like we find confidence in those kind of things. But for me, as I've gotten older, and especially now that I'm married and also have a child, true confidence comes in completely different things than I had ever expected. Um, Especially just the role as a wife. Like you have the opportunity to grow in confidence in so many ways because A, your husband loves you for reasons other than your looks. But also I think just the healthy balance of like serving your husband. Like I find joy and confidence in things that I'm able to do for my husband and my family, not necessarily just the way that I look.
Yes, 100%. And I think that that is one of those things that it also comes from having a good support system. Like having a good husband means so much in terms of confidence because, and kind of going back, I grew up, my dad was not a good guy, and my mom was not confident for so long because she was so beat down. I have never had that in my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I have, my husband is amazing. He compliments me all the time on my looks and the things that I can do. So I think that kind of going back on like serving and what you can do for your husband and your family, so much confidence comes from that and from being appreciated.
Yes. And I think too, marriage is a beautiful thing because we have the ability inside of marriage to increase each other's confidence. So, one of the roles as a wife is obviously to be an encourager to our husband and to be his helpmate. And by doing those things, we naturally help increase his confidence in himself. And then the way the husband is supposed to treat a wife naturally increases our confidence. So it's almost like God knew exactly what he was doing here. Like the plan for marriage is perfect, and through it, our confidence is increased by each other just by doing what we're supposed to do.
Yes, 100%. I think that that like, I mean, truly, it's all laid out. And on that, I mean, I think for you too, you have found a different confidence in being a mom. And I don't have human kids, but I know for me, in just raising animals and like having our dog specifically, and we have a 9 month old GSP puppy. And so one of the things in like raising a puppy, especially a bird dog, you have to instill confidence in your dog. Like you have to, in the things in your life, like I can't beat my dog down and then expect him to perform well and pick up his training. But if I encourage him in even jumping in the bed of my ranger, then as time goes on, like he will just flourish at that. So, for you, Maggie, being a mom, what is one thing that you are working on to instill confidence in Asa, and especially raising a little boy?
Yeah. This is actually a very good conversation starter. So, for me, I have an older brother, I have a younger sister. My mom, I'm biased, but she's very beautiful. Love her to pieces. However, I did hear a lot growing up about the things she didn't like about herself. And so I think that ended up kind of playing a role a little bit into my own self confidence later in life, just because I thought she was so beautiful. So when she would kind of pick herself apart, I was like, whoa, I don't see that at all. Like, you're so pretty. Maybe there's things like about myself that I'm not confident in. That's kind of a whole nother side note. However, raising a son is completely different. And I told Jacob, like, when we found out we were pregnant, like, I'm praying I'm not the mom that ever picks myself apart in front of our children, because I don't want them to then do it to themselves. And so me and Jacob had a conversation about it. I told him if he ever heard me do it to like hold me accountable. But then the Lord blessed us with a little boy, not a daughter. And having a son, confidence is completely different because women and men are just so different across the board. I'm actually reading this book called Raising Boys to Men, and I would say that has been a game changer in learning how to instill confidence in a man and not a woman. Because boys and men, I mean, they're rough and tumble and they're strong and they're leaders and they have to be courageous and bold and kind of test boundaries. And so learning how to allow Asa to do those things in a healthy way, of course, helping him to build confidence in himself has not necessarily been something so easy. But I would say, like, practical application here, he's only 2. So we still have a long ways to go as far as confidence. But with like little things, even like we have a brick fireplace in my house. Do I really want him climbing all over it and walking across the mantle? No, because realistically and logically, it's probably not safe. However, I know that boys have to do things that are a little scary to gain confidence in themselves. Like they do push boundaries. And so sometimes I will let Asa climb all over the fireplace. Or, playing outside. Like there's things that in my mom mind I want to be like, "Oh my goodness, don't do that. You're going to get hurt." But he has to learn how to do those things to gain confidence. Now, please don't take this out of context. I do not allow my kid to do anything reckless or negligent that would ever put himself in danger. I think there's a healthy balance we're talking about here. Um, but also just little things like speaking truth over him. Like, he is tough. And so if he gets hurt or if he falls or something of that nature, I've always said to him, "You're so tough. You're so tough, buddy." And so now if he falls or he gets hurt, he might be crying, but he'll get up and say, "I'm tough." And so I think it's little things like that. Speaking truth over your kids in a way of instilling confidence, because me telling him he's tough, he now believes he's tough. Or saying, "Buddy, you're so strong," like he'll believe he's strong. So I think it ultimately just goes back to the power that we have, not only as parents, but just as people. The words we speak to other people are so powerful, and they have the ability to build up or tear down. And so that's just the best way practically right now for having a 2-year-old that I've been instilling confidence is just mainly speaking truth over him and telling him he's tough, telling him he's strong to help build that confidence.
Oh, I love that. That is really good. Everything that you said coming from a family of all boys growing up. And I say that my youngest cousin was born when I was 15, and she was the next girl within my generation. And honestly, I have to give a shout out to Breland right now because it is her birthday coming up, and her birthday is the day before this podcast will air. So happy birthday, Breland. I know that she's
Happy
going to listen to
birthday.
this. And she is one of the most confident, almost 12-year-olds I've ever met in my whole life.
Aw.
That my mom instilled a lot of confidence in me that like I could do whatever I wanted. Whatever
Mhm.
I put my mind to. And for me, that was often things that I should not have been doing, like climbing on things at the zoo and breaking my arm at 6. Shouldn't have done that. I had the confidence though to climb to the top of it, just not on the falling. There was no confidence there. But I think that like especially how you like the differences in boys and girls, and as a little girl I remember too, like my mom picked herself apart, and a story she laughs at now, but apparently whenever I was 3 or 4 I told my mom that her Slim Fast wasn't working.
Oh.
And she's gonna listen to this and get mad, but that's fine. But I looking back, I wish I hadn't known what Slim Fast was. I
Mhm.
shouldn't have ever had the correlation that my mom needed a Slim Fast. And that didn't necessarily come from my mom. But the thought was in my head from somewhere. So looking back, like growing up, I remember that too. Like I remember my mom would pick herself apart, and sometimes she still does. And I think my mother's beautiful. But for me, she always told me how pretty I was, how
Mhm.
strong I was, and smart and all of these things. But then she would also tear herself apart as well.
Mhm.
And that is just one of those things that as a person, I don't ever want to do that to friends, family, future kids, or anything like that, just because your words matter.
Mhm.
And I know we were talking in the beginning, like not caring what other people think, but that is something that though like words will last a lifetime. And
Mhm.
so sometimes I think that we should take up people's words with a grain of salt, but you also have to know that the things that you say can make a difference in somebody's life. Whenever I was in middle school and I was getting into more of my femininity, growing out of all of the I remember all my friends were coloring their hair. This was in the 6th grade, and my friends were coloring their hair. I wanted to color my hair darker, and I should not have done that. But, I was 11, 12, whatever. And I remember I came home with dark hair, and my dad looked at me and told me that it was ugly and that it just looked so bad. He's like, "Why would you ever do that? Your natural hair was beautiful." And the person that he was thinking I was perfect the way that I was, but I was so excited about my new hair. And it wasn't until like a year ago I dyed my hair dark and liked it. And I'm almost 28.
Mhm.
So 16 years, what he said like stuck with me, that my hair did not look good dark. And so that was one of those things like on a confidence thing, and that is also like a testament that in the past year when I have dove into my faith, this is when my relationship with the Lord has grown. And so it took that long for me to realize that like my worth was not in what my biological dad said to me at 11. My worth is in God, and that like either way I am a daughter of the King.
Mhm.
No matter what color my hair is, my hair could be pink and I will still be a daughter of the King. And so that's one of those things for me on confidence, that just knowing people's words shouldn't matter to you, that you should just know your worth doesn't come from the words they are speaking.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And I think in today's day, of course, how we've talked about social media and all the things, people want practical ways to gain more confidence, because confidence is something, if we're just being honest, that's attractive. People want confidence because they know it's attractive. But people look for practical ways to gain confidence. And literally, the only thing that's ever worked for me in gaining true confidence has been the Lord. And like Macy said, just knowing where your true worth comes from. The ways of the world are not going to help you gain true confidence. They might help boost your confidence for a small period or for a short season, but ultimately they fail too. Like, true confidence comes from knowing who created you, that you were created with a purpose, that you were created fearfully and wonderfully in the image of God Himself.
Yes, with that, like to add, God created you and He is always with you. Deuteronomy 31:6 tells us, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you.
Forsake you. Yeah, that's a good word.
So that is something I found that in middle school and loved it. Um, but that is something that you have to know in everything that God has created you. He has made you into this person that you are, and He's still with you no matter what. Like, you don't have to be scared of what other people think, of how somebody will perceive you, because God is with you.
Mm-hmm. And I think, too, it's something important to note when you're saved and you're walking with the Lord. The same Spirit that literally raised Jesus from the dead dwells within you. And so there's confidence in that. Like, what can He do? What can't He use you for? The possibilities are endless. The same Spirit who raised Jesus Christ from the dead dwells within you. That should bring confidence in itself. Pair the two together, that Spirit's what lives in you, and the Lord your God will never leave you nor forsake you. You're set up for success. Like, nothing else matters. There's nothing you cannot do. Of course, the Lord's will, but that's an encouragement and an immediate confidence in and of itself. You're equipped for everything you need. You're
Yeah.
equipped to do whatever you want to do. Like, what else matters?
Yes, 100%. I think that is so good, and that, like, you have, I mean, you truly have all the tools. Um, and Maggie and I say these things as we still have bad days. We are still human, and there are days that that I know for me that I am not fully confident in what I'm doing or saying, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not fully confident in what I look like or my plans, but
Mm-hmm.
I am confident in that the Lord is going to get me through it.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be with me in every single moment. And I feel like for you, Maggie, there are probably moments where you're like, am I doing the right thing as a mom, as a wife, as a worship leader?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you just have to turn back to the fact that God will get you through it, and He is there with you. Like, He has given you all the tools.
100%. And something that I've just come to appreciate in my own walk, especially lately, is like faithfulness. Time and time again, like reading through the Bible and different stories, the Lord is always faithful. Like, always. We are not. He always is. And so I think that's just something in the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. Like, at the end of the day, He's faithful regardless. And so we'll touch on this in a later podcast, but me and Macy are walking through similar seasons with growing our families. Of course, it looks a little different for the two of us. However, we're walking through a similar season. And at the end of the day, I just keep resting in the fact that, like, no, He's faithful. Like, He's faithful. Like, none of this matters. He's faithful. It's fine. His timing's perfect. Just reminding myself of those truths. But that has been something too, and I think we can both touch on this. That in regards to confidence, those things can kind of play a role in the lack of. Like Macy just said, we're still human, so we have good days and bad days. But yeah, if you want to dive in a little bit on that, I know we're gonna do a whole other podcast about it, but
Yeah, so that is something for me that is probably where my lack of confidence is the most, in timing and what the future holds. And I will say I have moments of, I think despair is probably the best word. And I have moments where I am like, why or when is a better question. Like, when is this happening for me? And I say when because I never have an if. That it's never if, it is when this will happen. And for me, that is where I always go back to that God has me. And so while I will have moments where I don't have confidence, where I feel like life is falling apart. Those are just brief moments in the grand picture. But overall, my insecurity is just a moment. It may be a long moment. This moment may be a whole week of tears, but it is my heart and a lifetime of confidence in God's plan.
yeah, I would have to agree with that for sure. Like I said, our situations both look different. However, I know for me, there's feelings of like, oh my goodness, I'm the problem, or oh my goodness, like almost guilt in one regard. Um, but then at the end of the day, like for me, it's not an if either. Like I have full confidence of when. And that goes back to just conversations me and Macy have had about this topic. Like righteous desires that are inside of the Lord's will, like He will give them to us. Does that mean if I want a brand new red Ferrari, He's gonna just give it to me? No, like I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying if a righteous desire is to be fruitful and multiply and grow my family, like He'll give me that. I have confidence in it. Like, and so I think just reminding myself of those things in those moments of insecurity, but also at the end of the day, like, and I'm paraphrasing here, but in Hebrews, the author of Hebrews tells us that like we don't have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with us, talking about Jesus. Like Jesus felt all the feelings we feel. Like he's able to sympathize with us. And so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that every day is a good day. We're all about authenticity and transparency. And so it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to have hard feelings, but you
Stay
just
there.
can't. And so it's okay, Macy, if you need to cry for a week. You just can't cry every week for the whole week. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's okay to be upset and have feelings. Like Jesus wept, he is able to sympathize with us and faced every emotion we face. And so that's an encouragement too, is like there's nothing he hasn't faced that we will face. Like he's already gone before us. But just encouraging ourselves in the fact that like our desires to grow our families are righteous and he'll grant us those desires because they're a part of his will.
Yes, 100%. Maggie, yes, I think that with us in these journeys right now, it all on our insecurities, and even aside from growing our families and what that looks like, I think just in every day, God's promise to us and knowing that Jesus felt all of the things that we feel,
Mm-hmm.
that is a confidence boost in itself.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter what we're doing, if you are giving a speech, if you are running a marathon, worshiping, putting yourself out there, if you are in the single season of life and you are going on dates and looking for your husband, that God knows what those feelings are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not just this single person. Like you're not an island in the stream, to quote Kenny and Dolly. Like you are connected. You have somebody in this.
Hmm.
And so for me, I think that is where just like a lot of my confidence and faith in where I am going and the plans that the Lord has laid out is that He's there. And so I think we are talking about like easy ways to build confidence. And that's really the best one
Yep.
is that you just have to know that you're not alone. If we wanted to like a more like on our surface level things is if you just think that if you're very early on in your faith and you don't want to necessarily think that God is always with you, despite the fact that He is, but like there are other people on this earth that have walked this journey before.
Hmm.
You are not, I don't want to say you're not special, but you are special, but you're not special in the fact that like other people have felt the same way that you do. And then then we can go back that Jesus has felt this, like He knows these feelings as well.
Hmm. Well, and it speaks to it's in Second Corinthians, but and I'm paraphrasing once again, but sometimes what we go through is to comfort others when they walk through the same thing. And so there's purpose in having like-minded believers like in your close support system. Like I am so very grateful that I have Macy to like walk through and encourage me through this and vice versa. Like we go through things often. The entire purpose of you walking through something difficult could be to help someone else when they walk through the same thing. And so that's an encouragement too. That there's a bigger purpose in the things that we face, even when they're difficult.
Yes, 100%. And that, like, even if it is something as simple as getting up in front of a classroom of people and speaking, somebody has struggled with that before. And if you struggled with that and you have overcome that obstacle in your life, then you should help others. Like you should be an encourager and do the same. And so I think that we can look at this as our basic level things. People that struggle with public speaking, even though that's not something I have struggled with, that if I can be encouragement to somebody else who is in that right now, I would love to be that person. I would love
Hmm.
to be an encourager. I would love to cheer somebody on as they kind of go through whatever challenges they're facing. If I have already finished that race, if I have already climbed that obstacle,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
for Maggie and I, that I mean that truly even comes down to the clothes that we pick out and putting ourselves out there. My mother-in-law, I love her dearly, one of my very best friends, but and I'll tell her this to her face, but Mary doesn't wear that much color. She wears lots of blacks and whites and grays. And I'm like, Mary, let's add some color. Let's brighten up your life in your wardrobe. And Mary has asked me before, she's like, Macy, how do you wear that and not care about what other people think? And I'm like, well, Mary, it's because it's what I feel good in. And
Hmm.
so I think I give her a hard time, and I hope she listens to this and she will attest that I give her a very hard time. Uh, but I think that that's one of those things that I always try to just encourage her in adding a little pizzazz,
Yeah.
adding something pink, adding something blue. And so I think that for me and Maggie both, that is something we both strive to do. I know Maggie helps me a lot. And if I am struggling, then she is going to encourage me no matter what the topic is in.
Yeah. Well, there's also another verse, I believe it's in Hebrews, and it says, encourage one another as long as the day is called today. Well, newsflash. Every day is called today.
I love that. I think that kind of what we like how we started this. I'm talking about confidence, and that goes back to being encouraged and having like being a courageous person.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that you hit the nail on the head. I like that. I'm gonna go save that.
But also
I'll put it in
find
my
an
notes.
encourager. Like, find an encourager. Find, like, this is going to sound like I'm not sounding arrogant, but like, go find a Macy and a Maggie in your life. Like,
Yes. And if
we
we
do.
can,
We encourage each other. And
and
we all need to have those relationships.
And if you do not have somebody in your life that is an encourager, um, message us. We will be
Yeah.
there to encourage you. If you're in a place where nobody is encouraging you and you are looking for that, please message us. Message us on
Yes.
Instagram or Facebook. You can find us. You can drop a comment in wherever you listen to this. If it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, drop us a comment. We will gladly be your encourager. And that is what extraordinary is really all about. Is,
Hmm.
we want to be, Jesus is truly the extra in our life, but if we can be the extra in your life and be the encourager for you, we'll do that. We will
Yep.
gladly pick up our pom-poms and cheer you on.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, I cheered for 9 years, so
uh, there is a big difference in Maggie and I. Maggie was a
yes.
cheerleader for 9 years. I was playing airsoft with my brothers in the backyard.
Okay, now I also did that. I did do that. Don't even get me started on how unfair it was with my brother, but
I see. I fought dirty on those ends. I was like, look, I'm a girl. I have advantages. But I really think that with extraordinary, we hope that we can instill more confidence in you. If this is something that you struggle with, you want to hear more about, just let us know. And even if this is a private message, like, we are here for you.
yes, absolutely. We thank you for joining us on today's episode and look forward to chatting with you next time. All right, friend, that's a wrap on today's episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you're walking away feeling a little more encouraged, a little more seen, and reminded that Jesus truly brings the extra to the ordinary.
If you loved this convo, we'd love if you'd subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave us a review. It seriously means the world to us.
And come hang out with us over on Instagram at extra_ordinary_pod. We'd love to connect with you there. You can put faces to the name and see some of the shenanigans we get into.
Until next time, stay rooted in Jesus and keep looking for the extra in the ordinary.
Where was I going?
No idea.